What's up guys, it's One here, and today we'll be going over the infinite/unlimited healing build that Warlocks can do now, as they have so much source of healing, it is ridiculous. So let's get into the video. So with this build and why it is ridiculous for healing and being probably one of the best support classes in the game, the only support class in the game, is the fact with Warlocks they've gained access to another healing ability whilst also having a weapon that can heal people very efficiently and whilst also healing you. And this weapon also came in the final shape, and same with the exotic piece that came in the final shape. Now we have had healing guns before with Heal Clip or Luminia, but this one sort of tops the cake and it is really good, and basically it's the don't die gun of this game. And yeah, for stuff like endgame content, it is pretty good. So let's go over the aspects, fragments and abilities we'll be using in this build. So obviously to start off with, the abilities we'll be using Healing Aid, as it's a must for this build as we are healing people, so yeah. And with being Healing Aid, we can boost it with Touch of Flame, as with Touch of Flame it enhances its functionality, so in this case it will do more cure and restoration times 2, which is nice for that. And then we're using Hellion as a second aspect, as obviously Hellion, when you use a class ability, you get a solar body that lobs flame projectiles at distant targets, which scorches them. And obviously with enough scorch, it ignites them. Now this is good if we've got unstoppable champions, as when you ignite unstoppable champions, you will stun them, so it's good for that. And obviously a melee ability would be Incinerator Snap, as it's pretty good and great for this base ad control overall, and you'll be seeing why we're using it, as we're basically doing it to get a radiant when we cast our solo melee abilities. So yeah. So for the fragments, we'll go with Ember Singeing. Your class ability recharges faster when you scorch targets. We'll be scorching a lot with this build as well, so it's good with that. Ember Torches, powered melee attacks against combatants, makes you and nearby allies radiant. This is the reason why we've gone with Incinerator Snap, as you can hit a wider range of enemies, so it's good with that. And Incinerator Snap does a good damage overall, so yeah. Ember of Empyrean, soul weapons or ability final builds extend your duration of restoration radiant. Effects apply to you. This just gets those abilities lasting longer for yourself, so you can last longer in fights, which is pretty cool. And Ember Ashes, you apply more scorch stacks to a target, so meaning like stuff like Hellion, you'll be able to ignite enemies a lot faster, so that's a win. Now obviously a super being obviously got nerfed to being basically a Rift with restoration times 2, so it's not as good as it used to be and not as much damage resistance now, but the benefit with that is when you go into the now you gain radiant, and when you go out of it you keep your radiant, so that's the added benefit with it now. It's still pretty good for counters, but I wouldn't sort of be trusting it to have everyone in and if you got loads of enemies focusing you, as you will probably get melted, especially now because there's only restoration times 2, so if you've got a bunch of stuff shooting you, you probably will die. But if you're not going to have much stuff for you, just a pure boss, you'll probably be fine. But yeah, Well's been nerfed, but it's still pretty good for endgame content. So let's go over the main glue of this build, and that being the Zerg Helmet Speaker Sight. Why is it good? Well, when you throw your healing grenade now, it spawns as a restoration turret, which heal your allies occasionally, as it will shoot out a healing little orb to your allies, and which is pretty good for like counters that require you to move around in the space, and you can just throw it there whilst they're doing it if they're getting attacked by all angles and you're not really being attacked at all. a good encounter for this is the second encounter for the new raid, where you're going to shoot the head of the boss and you're getting shot by the sides of like knights and all that sort of stuff. So it's really good for that, as it will keep your team alive whilst they're doing that bit. It also has a chance to spawn Orbs of Power, which is good if you're using Surge mods for your builds, or doing armor charges for throwing your grenades to get more boost of energy back like that. It's really good for all builds overall, and it's good for your own build as well if you got surges for it. Now, for the other main bit of why this is like the ultimate healing slash support build is with a legendary auto rifle in the energy slot, that being No Hesitation. Why is it good? As it's the first support frame in the game that allows you to heal your allies. Obviously, you heal your allies by attacking or defeating foes till you get charged up, where you get a little bar on your, I would say, your reticle, and which shows how much gauge of healing you've got. Obviously, once it's filled out or you've got some charge in it, when you hit fire, you shoot out healing to your ally, which then obviously heals them for like a temporary restoration. Now, what makes this really good is when you're healing your allies and you do that, you also can do this, pair this with a perk you can get for this weapon called Physic. Rapid healing allies grant you and your allies restoration for approved duration. This is really good as you and your allies both get restoration, which is really good, especially if you're just a pair when you're doing a counter, which is nice. And because there will be times where even if you're doing raids, you will be in just pairs, so you can keep you and your ally alive. So it's really good for that. Or in pairs of 3, still good. So yeah, and this can be really used well in, again, Salvation's raid, and where you will be paired a lot when you going backwards and forwards and tethering with the circuit thing in that raid. So yeah, pretty good with that. And then you can get incandescent with this weapon, which is good for ad clearing. Obviously, defeat targets. It spreads obviously scorch, and obviously we got that fragment that allows you to do more scorch. So yeah, it's really good for that, and just good ad clear overall, whilst having a bit of like functionality of doing a bit of damage and clearing ads, so you can get more of your healing back for this weapon for it being a support frame, and then obviously get the restoration to your allies with it being more enhanced with obviously Physic. So let's go over the artifact mods for this build, as realistically the season artifact mods, there's only 2 that we really care of that make this build really work well. That being Radiant Orbs, while you have Solar or Prismatic subclass great, you pick an Orbs power makes you Radiant. Obviously we can make ourselves Radiant using Power Melee, but if that's not up, this is another solution, and it's really good because we pair this with Shield Crush. Obviously we're doing the bottom effect of it is while you're amplified or radiant, your grenade recharges faster and deals increased damage. Obviously with having healing nades, we won't do any damage. We only care about is getting our grenades back faster, and this will do that. So yeah, getting radiant and getting a grenade back faster is the main key for this build, and obviously pair that with Radiant Orbs, we can do that really well. So let's go over the mods for this build. So for the helmet, I go with Siphon mods, or whatever element of weapons you're using. Obviously we're guaranteed to be using a solo weapon, so we have at least one solo Siphon mod, and it's really good. I'll get Orbs powered when you rapidly defeat targets, and with us having incandescent on that weapon, it's really good with that, as this will be generating Orbs power for a grenade kickstart. Obviously when we throw a grenade, it will deplete the armor charge and we'll get grenade energy back depending on how much armor charge we have. We've got 2 of these for more of the impacts for that, so yep. And then obviously a fastball just to get the healing turret a further distance, so really good for if you're across other side of the room and you need to throw it there for the allies, it's good for that. Obviously chest piece, you can go with charge up mods to get more armor charge, and then whatever other mods you want for your chest piece. For your boots, I would go with innovations, probably 3 of them, as to get your pick up auto power, get your grenade cooldown less, so it's good for that. And then for class item, bombers, really enough said, as get more grenade cooldown with your obviously user class abilities, and we were getting that back fast as we scored more targets, we get class ability back faster, so yeah, that works well with that. And one of the key things with this build is to have 100 discipline, as we get our grenade ability cooldown much faster as well, as we've been tier 10 discipline, we get to every 45 seconds. With all this going on with grenade kickstart, interventions, bombers, it'd be much less with this build. So yeah, this is the ultimate healing / support water build in the game, and it is really good at what it does, and no other build can compete with this, even though Titans can do some healing, but not to the extent of how much you can heal, and it being just really good overall, and everything just synergizing so well, it is ridiculous. So let me know what other builds I should make, as there's plenty out there, and whatever you suggest will be much appreciated, as I'll try to build next. But other than that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.